Good afternoon and welcome to France 24 and Radio France International for an exclusive interview with the President of the Republic of Madagascar, Andry Rajoelina, who's on air with us from Antananarivo. I'm joined by Christophe Boisbouvier from RFI. Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Bonjour, c'est un plaisir.
Hello. It is a pleasure to be your guest, particularly in times of war against the coronavirus.
So we're going to talk about what you've called this war against COVID-19. On top of lockdowns, face masks and distancing measures, Madagascar has set itself apart by its use of COVID organics, a remedy based on Artemisia, a plant with proven therapeutic effects in the fight against malaria. You've already sent it to a number of African countries, but do you have proof in Madagascar that this treatment works, that it has actually cured people suffering from COVID-19?
Well, we have indeed introduced this remedy, which contains Malagasy medicinal plants. This is something that we are used to in Madagascar. 80% of the population uses herbal remedies. This being said, COVID organics is, needless to say, a preventive and curative remedy against COVID-19. It works really well, and it is the result of research carried out by the Malagasy Institute of Applied Research, which has the status of a regional research center as part of the African Union organization. I would like to clarify that IMRA is a medical, pharmaceutical, and training center created in 1957 by Professor Ratsimamanga, an emeritus African scientist. You mentioned evidence. Earlier, I said we are at war. As you well know, the global death toll from COVID is nearly 300,000. Can we really afford to disregard a potential treatment, particularly in times of war? What evidence can we provide at this point? Well, our patients are healing. Out of 171 infections in Madagascar, as many as 105 have healed. That's a majority of COVID-19 patients who have healed. You mentioned evidence. What I can tell you is that the patients that have healed have taken no other product than COVID organics. To summarize, we are seeing a clear improvement in the health of patients treated with this remedy called Tembavi-CVR, and this only 24 hours after the remedy was first administered. The patients are found to heal 7 to 10 days after receiving the remedy. It is a natural remedy, a non-toxic and non-invasive remedy.
Nevertheless, Mr. President, not everyone is convinced by the evidence that you're talking about. And it's not just anyone who's skeptical. The African Union, ECOWAS, and especially the WHO, the WHO's Africa office, have in the past few days repeatedly warned against the illusion of a miracle cure. Not only does the WHO have doubts as to the effectiveness of COVID organics, but it is also worried about the possible side effects for those who take this tonic.
Well, you are referring to Dr. Moetzi's warning against the use of COVID organics. I have a question for you. Wasn't there another medication called Mediator that received all of the necessary marketing authorizations? My question for you is, how many people did Mediator kill? You're all familiar with the statement by Professors Bernard Debré and Philippe Even These professors
presque plus de 58 médicaments
introduced over 58 medications manufactured by prestigious laboratories. And according to them, not only do these drugs have zero healing effect, but they're also dangerous, if not lethal. These drugs have been and are being marketed in Africa, and I have never heard Dr. Moetsi or WHO issue statements banning the use of these drugs.
Comme je l'avais dit tout à l'heure,
This being said,
on utilise de la décoction.
we use a tonic, a decoction.
Méthode, une action de
In other words, we brew medicinal herbs in boiling water in order to extract the active ingredients.
traditionnelle.
That's our traditional medicine. It is famous and recognized because it works.
Dans ce remède, on parle beaucoup de la.
There's a lot of talk about Artemisia
Ce qui se pose aujourd'hui, vous m'avez
with this
posé la
remedy.
question, mais j'ai une question quand même.
You've put a question to me. Well, I have a question for you.
Pas Madagascar, mais si c'était un pays.
What if this remedy had been discovered by a European country instead of Madagascar? Would people doubt it so much? I don't think so.
Ce que je peux vous dire aujourd'hui,
I can tell you
le cas
that
malade à
those Malagasy patients who have received the remedy,
aujourd'hui, ce tambave ou ce.
whether you call it
décoction, nous avons eu des
Tembavi CVO or COVID organics, these patients are all the proof you need that it works.
Well, on this point, let's take France's example. The National Drug Safety Agency very recently published a warning against buying Artemisia-based products, stating that their therapeutic properties are, and I quote this agency, false and dangerous. Do you get the impression that these doubts or these suspicions of, let's say it plainly, quackery come from Western countries or maybe Western pharmaceutical lobbies?
occidentaux.
Vous savez, vous avez peut-être
You may have
regardé
heard
la déclaration
or
du
seen the statement by
Montagnier,
Professor
qui a
Montagnier.
quand même, reçu le prix Nobel.
After all, he was the recipient of the Nobel Prize in Science of Medicine.
C'est une
And
piste
according to him,
pour guérir
Artemisia is a way to cure the coronavirus. So that's one thing.
aussi pu en fait constater
And you may have also seen
l'étude
the research
professeur
by Professor Tu Yuyu in China.
qui a pu extraire en fait
Professor Tu Yuyu has been able to extract artemisinin from Artemisia.
je ne comprends pas pourquoi
So I don't get it.
tant de questions,
Why so many questions? Why all this trouble?
Covid organics n'est pas
The problem with COVID organics is not the formulation.
clinique qu'on fait
We're not talking clinical studies that pretended not to know.
sur ce produit.
People are bad-mouthing this product, Tembavi CVO, yet all it does is save lives. It's a good thing.
Bataille, on veut nous freiner.
In this battle, they are trying to slow us down. They're trying to discourage us, stop us even from moving forward.
Who are you referring to, Mr. President?
Ni un pays.
Well, no one will stop us from moving forward, not a country, not an organization.
Vous avez cité quelques.
Who am I referring to? Well, you refer to a number of organizations, including the World Health Organizations. Well, we, in Madagascar, have our own tonic. We are a sovereign country. We seek to help our people not become victims of the pandemic.
De cette pandémie.
Simplement, ce que tout le
Quite simply, what everyone is asking for is the clinical trials. You cited IMRA, the Malagasy Institute of Applied Research, but for the time being, this institute has only carried out clinical observations and not clinical trials. So when will they be carried out, and who will carry these trials out?
Alors, il ne faut pas confondre essais cliniques.
Clinical trials and clinical observations are two different things.
Quand on parle de Tembav CVO,
When it comes to Tembavi CVO,
statut de remède traditionnel.
the status of Tembavi CVO is that of an enhanced traditional remedy,
Le système de validation
which warrants a validation system that is different than that of a drug. We are not conducting clinical trials, but rather clinical observations in line with guidelines from WHO. So we have conducted these clinical observations. There's a study protocol to observe the impact of the remedy on the state of health of COVID patients. We have fully complied with universally recognized standards of ethics for clinical research and studies.
But last Thursday you announced that clinical tests were soon going to be carried out. Is this no longer the case?
Now, there are two different aspects. Let's not mistake one for the other. Several protocols have been set up. Firstly, like every other country in the world that is fighting the pandemic, we are under pressure to find a treatment for our patients. And when Professor Raoult made an announcement saying hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin worked, we used the treatment he recommended, and for that, I wish to thank him. Without the solution he proposed, we would not have been able to save the first victims of the coronavirus. This being said, we all know that high-dose administration of both drugs produces side effects and adverse effects. This treatment presented risks of toxicity, which warrants greater clinical monitoring. Regarding the second protocol that we adopted, that protocol was for Tambavi-CVO. I'm referring to the tonic or decoction that I referred to earlier. We follow the principles of clinical study and observation, as well as WHO guidelines. The vast majority of patients who were treated with this remedy are all of the proof you need that it works. No one has died in Madagascar. No one has died. All we have done is heal our patients. Earlier, you referred to clinical trials. Needless to say, we have a third protocol. I'm referring to a clinical trial on an injectable drug that is different than the remedy we are currently making available. This is part of scientific cooperation efforts at a regional level, as well as with physicians and scientists in the US and, needless to say, in the Indian Ocean.
The Malagasy Institute of Applied Research, which you mentioned earlier, won't reveal the exact ingredients of COVID organics because one imagines that this institute doesn't want to be overtaken by a competitor before it can secure a patent. But many Malagasis from the country's interior don't have access to this cure, so that they can produce it themselves and protect themselves, can you tell us, other than Artemisia, what are the two other plants that make up COVID organics?
Needless to say, COVID organics is mostly made up of medicinal plants, mostly Artemisia, to the tune of 62%. The remedy also contains other medicinal plants which are endemic to Madagascar. This information cannot be disclosed at this time. We are still awaiting results. And we will initiate clinical monitoring at a regional level. We have our own formulation, and as I said before, we are working together with the Malagasy Institute of Applied Research. And there is a product I would like to show you. It's called Madagascar, currently manufactured by Bayer. Bayer is a laboratory that makes 100 or so different medications. But this product is the result of research together with IMRA. This medication was developed in 1961. I'm simply trying to tell you that African and Malagasy scientists should not be underestimated. We are here. Questions abound, yes, but what is the problem with COVID organics? Really? Could it be that this product comes from Africa? Could it be that it's not okay for a country like Madagascar, which is the 63rd poorest country in the world, that it's not okay for such a poor country to have come up with Tambavi that can help save the world? Remember, we are at war. But in this war cannot be won by military might or economic power. It is God who gave us these medicinal plants to help our country and help the rest of the world against this disease.
Mr. President, we only have a few seconds left, but it's an important question. You demand that France hand back the scattered islands, the 4 islands off the coast of Madagascar. A mixed commission was set up a year ago, but in October, Emmanuel Macron visited one of these 4 islands and said, "This is France." Do you think that by June 26th, the date that will mark the 60th anniversary since Madagascar's independence, a solution can be found between your 2 countries?
That is indeed what we are hoping for. We hope that a solution can be found so that these islands can be restituted to Madagascar. Now, the joint committee was supposed to hold its second meeting at the end of March. This meeting was postponed because of the coronavirus. But I have faith. I have confidence in our ability to come up with a quick solution that will meet our request for restitution.
Do you mean restitution or rather a co-management agreement with France? In a few seconds, quickly.
We are claiming sovereignty over these islands. Restitution is the order of the day.
Mr. President, thank you for giving us your time for this interview, and thank you for following us on our 2 channels, Radio France Internationale and France 24.
At France 24, our goal is to follow the news around the world as it develops and keep you informed at all times.
The coronavirus pandemic is hitting us all hard, not just in France, but everywhere. We at France 24 are determined to provide you with reliable and verified information as the world confronts the biggest health crisis for a century.
Wherever we are, however best we can, we're trying our utmost to keep on bringing you the very latest news.
France 24 is on the ground, reporting from the field in English, French, Arabic and Spanish. Keep watching and reading on France24.com.
France 24, our mission is to inform you.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
How contagious are conspiracy theories in these times of COVID-19? Confinement means more time online and more exposure to all kinds of ideas. Join me, François Picard, as we team up with Deutsche Welle's Melinda Crane for a special edition of the France 24 Debate.